is sad. And just like, the same could be said of men, certain types of men who might be weak or spineless, we might call them. Satan is again manipulating that man to not honor his role, to not do what he's supposed to do, to not be responsible, to not stand up and say what needs to be said. The other manifestation of that in the ladies might be some who are, maybe they have a different personality, maybe a more subtle personality. You might see that they seem to be anxious, they seem to have a lot of anxiety, they seem to worry. The restaurant we were at, as an example, local establishment, and we were able to see the owners. They greeted us as we got there, husband and wife, and I just made note, said the lady looks very stressed. And my friend says, that's because he is not. It's easy going, and so the burdens fall on her. So as masculine husbands and fathers, men, we should be protectors in a way to where the things that we have to do, our lives shouldn't have to worry. Now naturally, by their nature, by their emotional nature, they're going to worry about things. And why is that? Because they have that instilled concern to care for children. So that if a child is up sick in the night, we men will probably sleep through. And mom will get up and take care of the baby all night, and that's why she has that nature about herself. But she shouldn't have to be concerned with the things like money or things around the house if they're getting done, or all those things that really fall on us and are our responsibility, or disciplining the kids. We should be there, we should be in tune, we should be sheltering her from those worries. That allows her to be carefree, to not have to worry. And that's the way this phenomenon works. For instance, money. A lot of times, especially at this time in the financial cycle, a lot of people are worried about money. A lot of people have some financial concerns. And I might have 5, 6, 7 bank accounts that I run, and investments and houses and all those things. And I know the balance of every one of those accounts, and I know what they're for, and I know how much money I got coming in, and where my investments stand, and who's paid up on rent, and all that good stuff. And my wife doesn't have any idea about it. Now, she should have a general idea, in case anything would ever happen to me, but as far as if things are going to get paid, she has no idea of any of that stuff, because that's on me, and I have that concern. And God has built men in a way to be able to handle that kind of concern and that responsibility. We just need to do it. We need to step up and do it. Main thing I want to talk about here, though, is in our homes. Establishing order in our homes. And in being aware of what's going on and making the correction that we have to make when it needs to be made. If we're going through seeing things in our home, asking the questions that need to be asked. Not just ignoring things, not just letting them pass and letting them sweeping them under the rug or letting them build up. And as I was saying in the last video, we should be able to state clearly and directly whatever it is that needs to be stated. An example. I heard a gentleman say he's married and he has some daughters that are young adult teenager daughters. And he said he was going into the house and about to say something, and they said something to the effect of, "We don't want to hear it." And I didn't say anything to the man, but I thought, I hate to say never, but that would never happen in my home. You know, if something needs to be said, if something needs to be straightened out, if something needs to be questioned, I'm going to do it. And if that question were, if that statement were to be made, all the power of heaven would descend upon our home at that time, and everybody would know it. Starting off something to the effect of, who do you think you're talking to? Because, you know, my responsibility as far as that goes is for my family. And if something needs to be addressed or corrected, it falls on me. I am going to be judged by God for that, based on how I keep things in line in my home. And what, again, as I was saying earlier, that creates a security amongst all the family members. It creates a peace in the house to know that there's fairness and that there is a figure of authority to answer to. That, how do I base that? How do we base that? What the standards are? It was simply based on Catholic moral law. You know, the teachings of the church. The church stands here as the voice of God on earth. Give us the guidelines of what we ought to go by. You know, an example of that might be if a young daughter, a teenage daughter, decides on trying to wear something that we might call unacceptable in the way of modesty. You know, that is, you know, it's not something that we should just bypass as dads and just turn a blind eye to and assume that, oh, my wife is, you know, she hadn't said anything, so it must be okay. And put the burden on our wives. No, if we have the guidelines, we know the Mary-like standard of dress, we know what's acceptable, and we can see it clearly. If it's in violation of that, then we say, go change and get rid of that outfit. Period. End of story. No questions. And that's the way it ought to be. You know, and you might say, well, okay, you're offering all that correction. You know, what are you, Mr. Perfect? Obviously not. I go to a confession every other week, at least, and more if I have to. But, you know, and I like Michael Voris's explanation. I don't know where he got it from, if he just came to it on his own. Explanation of confession. But you know, if we're doing the things we're supposed to do, if we're trying to be holy, if we're trying to live a godly life, we are a threat to Satan. Okay, because we're trying to save our own soul and save the souls of our kids and possibly some other people along the way. And those are souls that he wouldn't be able to have. So, as he says, explains the spiritual battle, we are a target. We are a target. So you're going to get shot at. You're going to be a possible victim. So sometimes we'll get hit. Sometimes we will get hit, just because we're a target. Confession is simply just like the medic tent out there. You go out, you rush into the medic tent and get healed by the divine healer, standing there in the persona of the priest, and then leave, and you are back to perfection, clean slate, ready to go out and fight. Don't believe that? That's the truth. That's the power of confession. You are back, made whole. Now, after, you might have some temporal stuff you got to take care of before you can see Almighty God, but right here, you're back out, you're a warrior, you're back ready to fight. Full strength. That's confession. And we all need to take advantage of that. But it's comforting to look at the Holy Family if we want to worry about whether or not we're good enough to be offering this correction. St. Joseph led his house. And look at who his family was. The second person of the Trinity, an Immaculate Mother of God. But at the same time, he still led his house, because that was his role. We need to consider that whenever we are worried about, you know, am I good enough, or, you know, who am I? We've been given a job, a responsibility by Almighty God to lead our family. If we do this, the result will be having a happy wife and happy family. You know, the ladies that have to take on the burdens of leading the family will not be happy. They'll be stressed. They'll have anxiety. They won't be happy, and the children, it'll play out in the children. So if we do the things we have to do, it's the same concept as correcting the little kids. You know, once you do it enough at first, you find that you don't have to do it as much. And look, our family, we have a good time. I mean, I know you might say, well, you sound like a tyrant up there, but I don't have to be. I don't have to be, because people know that the family knows what to expect and knows that certain things are not going to fly. So I really don't have to do a whole lot of that. It's just it happens and it comes up. You know, we all fall and all have our weaknesses. And when you have 9 people in the house, that's going to happen. It's by somebody. But same concept. And you know, if we do what we have to do, there'll be peace and harmony in our families and in our homes. God bless you.
God bless you.